Just a mind blower. Thank you, Jerry Lynn. That was so awesome. Well, I have somebody very special to introduce to you today. Rev Toni Hegge. Come on up and join me. This is Rev Toni. Now, you're not a newcomer to this philosophy. Why don't you tell them a little bit about where you got your start here?
Well, in 1980, I walked into...
Is he on? Here, use my mic.
All right. In 1980, I walked into a theater in Palm Springs to hear Dr. Tom Costa speak. I had just gone to a religious church for the first time in my life a couple of weeks earlier when I was up in Carmel where I lived. And I was just down here doing what I thought was going to be a very short construction project that would have me here during the summer and then I would be gone. Well, this was in October, so the summer was clearly gone. And I left. I soon got busy, couldn't come, you guys probably have those kinds of experiences about, I mean to go to church. Yeah, I really go. But then stuff happens. And stuff happened, and eventually what happened is I moved away, and a year or so later I came back after having attended another religious science church in Denver. I came back and I walked into Dr. Tom's church and he said, "It's good to see you again, Tony." And I was hooked. So I've been a member of this church since 1980, off and on, as I say. In 1993, I completed my ministry training here and went to Florida. I spent 5 years there. And then I went to Canada and spent 15 years there. And then I came back and I served for a short time as a staff minister over in the Palm Springs church. And then COVID, and then I started guest speaking, and then COVID happened, and that's been 3 years ago, and first time I've been on a pulpit since, so I'm excited, scared, nervous. So I'm glad to be here with you guys all again. Family I haven't quite met yet, so I look forward to what I can say today that might be useful.
I'll just hand this.
Am I fixed? Oh, good, I am.
He's fixed.
I'm fixed.
You can see, you guys are in great hands, and it's an honor for me to introduce Rev Toni Hegge. Take it away.
Thank you. Now, way back when, before most of us could remember, Ernest Holmes had a radio show on national radio, and he started that show with the words, "There's a power for good in the universe that's greater than you are, greater than I am, and you can use it." Now, that's kind of what we've been talking about for all this 100 years or so, since it first was published. But how do we use it? How do we use it, See, the trick is you're already using it. The life you're living right now is the result of your use of that. The experience you're having right now is the outpicturing of the general tenor of your thoughts and feelings. I wish I could say it's going to get better. It's only going to get better when you get better. You see, that's the problem with this. It's really an inside job. You can believe the words all you want, but until you actually start to move into that, nothing really changes. Until something in you changes, nothing out here changes. Isn't that the damnedest thing? Boy, that's the bad news of this teaching. It's always for 25 years, I've gotten up and had to help people the good news, bad news thing. And usually we try to start with the good news, and everybody is happy where we're really going. I love this music here. I've always liked to use upbeat music for my services, and I've really been impressed that since I've come back here, a lot of the music I used to use is being used again. Those of us who were around in the 70s and 80s remember this music when it was new. But it's new again, because if you're just hearing it for the first time, or even the first time in this mindset, it really moves us. That's the power of music. It moves us. We can use that. We sing this one people song that we sing. When I was going here, we used to sing We Are One. That was a real popular song at the time, but it really brought forth. But for me, what it brought forth was that when I was young, like almost nobody here is, but a couple of you are. When I was young, I had this dream that people could come together as one. It's kind of what motivated. My idea about how it would happen was really different, because in those days, it was the days of bonanza. So I just thought I would marry lots of different women from lots of different backgrounds, and I'd have lots of different kids, and I would raise them as a family. And even they were different, they would know each other as brother and sister. Now, obviously, that was not a good idea. One, I never made that much money in all of my life. And two, it really was based in an idea that really only a young person could hold, because the frame was too small. It was an impractical idea. How many of you have had an impractical idea about your life? Yeah. Daily. Yeah. Part of this is what I wanted to lead into what I'm talking about today. The title of my talk is No Impossible Dreams. How many times have you been told, oh, that's just not going to happen? It couldn't happen. How many times have you told yourself that? You have this urge, this dream, this idea what life could be like, but somewhere inside of you, you've already got the record that says, that's impossible, that can't happen. Well, the power of this teaching is that there are no limits. Really and truly, there is no outside the box you could think. Because anything you could think has already moved itself inside the box. The fact that you've envisioned it has brought it into the realm of possibility. The fact that you can think about it, give it any kind of shape or form, means that you've already caused it to be something. Even if it's only a weird idea. You have a weird idea, like getting along with your ex, that's a weird idea, right? Could happen. It could happen. This is the thing about this teaching, is that there are no limits to it. But we have a couple of ideas that are set in our minds that I see as core barriers to realizing your dreams. First is the idea, what is a dream? If who you are being today, through effort and using the resources you have, could accomplish this, it is not a dream. It's a goal. How many people have goal lists? I call it my bucket list. I'm going to get to it someday. But they're doable. There's no question about it. It's not a question of if. It's just a question of whether I'll do it or not. That's not a dream. A dream requires a fundamental transformation of who you're being for it to be real. Because the person you're being today could not live in that dream. Otherwise, you would be. It would just be a question of a couple more steps, a couple more things to do, and it would be real. A dream, to be a dream, must be beyond your possibility and outside the realm of your probability. It's got to be something that you, who you're being today, could not achieve or accomplish or live inside. You start to see the dimensions that dreams have. A dream I had when I was 16, it was kind of realized a bit today, where we're standing in a line, holding hands, singing, "We Are One Family." That could not happen to the 16-year-old who had that dream. That could not happen in that person's world. No way. I grew up in South Dakota, where a mixed marriage was a Methodist and a Lutheran. This could not happen. In my youth, I became a youth evangelist in a Baptist church. And what I saw was what I used to call the Baptist disease. When you get more than 50 members in a church, 4 or 5 of them are going to disagree with the preacher and go out and start a new church. That's why Baptist churches tend to be about 50 people. I've unfortunately seen a lot of that in religious science as well. So it's not a denominational issue. It's a personal issue. It's an issue of people. When we have the vision, we have the dream. Dr. Tom, when he started out, I don't know how many of you knew Dr. Tom's story. He was a bartender at a Denny's in Palm Springs. And he got, how bartenders are, they hear everybody's problems. And he was also a student of this teaching. And he started to be everybody's best practitioner. And he had a bartender's trick, if you will, which is what hooked me. If you want to make a lot of tips as a bartender, you remember two things: person's name and their drink. When you walk into a bar and you're known, they don't ask you what they want. They say, the usual? You feel like you're at Cheers, like everybody knows your name and you're at home. He grew that into this, which at one time was one of the biggest churches in our movement. At his peak, it was like you couldn't get a seat here. These chairs went all the way up to here, and everyone was full. Over there, too, all the way to the wall. Everyone was full. Young people, old people, straight people, gay people, everybody was showing up here because this is where the oasis in the desert where you could get your drink. You could get your dream relubricated, if you will. You had the energy and the sustainability that you could dream again. And that's kind of what happened to me. I started to hear him, and juices started to flow in parts of me that never flowed, hadn't flowed in years, ever since I had left home and went on my journey. I had the other thing I wanted to do when I was a kid. I wanted to have an adventurous life. I have. Be careful what you wish for. When you're having an adventurous life, half the time it's like, oh my God, am I going to die? It's only in retrospect that it seemed like it was adventurous. In the meantime, it's scary as hell. You got to reach out for life, and I had started to not do that very much, although I got to admit, deciding to leave where I was settled and had a place to move down here to do a job in the middle of the summer here does not sound like somebody who's risk adverse. Just stupid. So that's where we're at in our life. We're at this place where we have dreams. We have dreams that we have put aside because they're not available to the person we're being, and we haven't really accepted that we can transform into that dream. Can I have my first slide? Okay, if you can't see it, that little blue line, that's kind of like, if you're leaving Portsmouth, England, and you're trying to come to the continental United States, it looks like it's a pretty straight trip, doesn't it? That's how we feel about our dreams. We have it when we start out having a dream, we think it's a straight line. We're going to get there no matter what. We just keep moving in the same direction, and we'll get there. Next slide. This is what the journey relay looks like. How many of you think you control the world? How many of you would like to? Yeah, there's a couple honest people in the audience. Yeah, we all think that if we just keep ourselves together, we're going to just keep moving in the right direction and we'll get there. But what really happens? You ever taken your dog for a walk off leash? Dog is like your mind. It goes. Everything that happens is a new thing, and it has to be followed up on, and its straight line does not occur for a dog. Unless you're between it and its food, then it's a straight line. But the rest of the time, our minds are like that. They're going from this to that. They're always constantly focusing on what's the new thing. We have a whole industry that works on that basis of our mind. Advertising works on the fact that we will follow whatever big noise, new things moving that is presented to us. We will leave the brands that we've lived with all our lives and we'll move to the next new thing because it's the new thing. It must be better. Our minds are like that. They're constantly moving everywhere, like a dog without a leash. And because of that, our ability to transform who we're being is severely limited. Because if you never delve into a new idea deep enough to have a shift in who you're being, it's never going to affect who you're being, and it's never going to affect the world you're living in. Just not happening. I started in this teaching, I thought I was going to be the next great, Oral Roberts, somebody I knew from childhood. So it was an image I had of somebody who could go out and talk big and have a big influence in the world. But what I found is that I'm better at talking to people in smaller groups where they can actually listen and think about what I've said. You see that your life is not somebody else's fault. It's not a mistake either. I want you to get that. It's not a mistake. You chose it by who you chose to be as you're growing up, but that's not an end product. It is not something set in stone. How do I get myself on track? Here's the teaching that I got from my years sitting in a Buddhist temple, sitting down, trying to make my mind stop. Your mind never stops. But here's the trick in your life. Every day, wherever you are, set your course anew. In that sailing ship, and I'm a sailor, so I know how this works. The ocean is not a static thing. It is not sitting still. It's always changing, always moving. Where you're standing right now, if I didn't have any wind, I would still not be here tomorrow. I would be somewhere else, because the sea would have moved me. The sea is your life. You're not the only fish in this ocean. You're not separate from the environment in which you're living. You're part of it. And it moves you. It's going to constantly move you. It will never stop moving you. Till maybe when you're dead. I don't know. I'm not there yet. But you're in constant motion. You're in a field of constant motion. You're constantly moving. The world around you is constantly moving. Guess what? You're going to have to make course corrections along the way. Every day you need to look and see, where am I? Where am I going? And choose to start out in that direction today. Guess what? Tomorrow you're going to have to do the same thing all over again. You're going to have to look at what are the thoughts and feelings that I think are true about me and my world, and decide, are those the thoughts and feelings that are going to help me generate this? Some days you're going to be right. Some days you're going to be wrong. Some days you're not even going to do it because it's just too much bloody work. And you're going to say, heck with it. I'm just going wherever it takes me. How many of you have been there? Yeah. Sometimes those days are the best days. Because when you quit trying to get somewhere and you stop all efforting, you suddenly realize where you are. And you start to see that you're not that far off where you need to go. That sometimes the efforting is what's in the way. How many of you are trying to make things happen in your life? You just have what you know needs to happen, and you're going to make it happen no matter what. How many times has that worked? Not so often. Not so often. Sometimes you need to stop. That's what the beautiful thing, part of this service. You stop in this meditation, and you can just be for a minute. You're in a room where a lot of energy is kind of supportive and uplifting, and you can just feel like it's safe to just be for a minute. And in that safety, you can find a reset. Now, we teach a process called spiritual mind treatment here, and how many of you have run into it? It's done something with it. It's actually a way of transforming your mind, although we don't talk about it that way. So we talk about it, how I'm going to have something happen. I'm going to use the law to have something happen. But the real work happens as we give ourselves over to it. We recognize there's a power for good everywhere, always present, never anywhere else but where we're at. And then we identify ourselves as it. We're not different from it. We are part of this ongoing creative motion in the universe, this motion in the ocean, if you like. We get it going. We all get up and we like to move around in here. So that's it. You're in the process of the motion of the ocean when you're in treatment. You allow yourself to be carried in the direction of that which you have envisioned. You're not making it come to you. You are allowing yourself to be moved towards it. You are taking yourself out of this, I'm going to make it happen, to, it's happening. It's happening. Now, when you wake up and you find that you're only a little bit closer than you were, our tendency is to say, well, that didn't work. Why would I want to do something over and over again that just clearly doesn't work? But the truth is, as you come back to that place, slowly but surely, the who you're being is transformed into the who that lives in that world. The core ideas that you hold on to start to shift and move. And things that have never been possible before become possible and available. Not because they never possibly existed before, but because suddenly you're in tune with that realm of reality. That somehow you've now changed, and so the world that you're living in has changed. I love this song we had today. Can I have the next slide? We need to trust the journey. Saying, that how many of that song really represents your life, where you struggle and effort in all the wrong places and all the wrong times, and you're always struggling and efforting, and life seems like it's going nowhere. If you have what Jesus said, the faith of a mustard seed, that the dream that you have embraced and are allowing to become the focus of your life, it will carry you. The journey is not about arrivals. Every journey has a beginning and an end, no matter where you're going. It's the journey where the transformation occurs. In 1977, I went to a thing called the S training. I don't know, some of you are old enough, you remember that. Yeah, it really is a transformative kind of experience, because it really, for the first time in my life at least, identified me as something other than my feelings and the thoughts that I was having. I started to have an existence outside of my story. And in that process, the world started shifting around me so fast, I started looking for things to hang on to. I actually felt I was rising up off the ground when I was walking down the street. I'd hold on to the building so I wouldn't fly away. But that was because my reality was so shifting all the time that things that I had held to be so turned out not to be so much so. And things which I thought couldn't possibly be were starting to show up in ways that I was not all that comfortable with, because I was pretty used to being in charge and knowing what was really so. Some of you may be opinionated like that. I don't know you, but I'm pretty sure I'm always right. And when you think I'm not, I'm pretty sure that you're mistaken. And that had come into question for me, and I suddenly was having to realize my life was shifting in ways that were not my effort in causing. But something deeper within me was moving me in a direction that I didn't really recognize. But as I journeyed along, I started to see there was something coming together here, something that was moving me that ultimately led to me doing this. And it was this dream that I had as a child that was starting to have me come true to it. It's not about your dreams coming true. It's about you becoming true to your dream. Your dream is out there waiting for you to come true. It's everywhere present. It is attracting to it everything that's necessary as you allow yourself to be transformed and be different than you were. I stand before you a transformed person, multiply transformed. I've been transformed and transformed. I start to look around and see, who is that? I look in the mirror and I wonder, who am I looking at? I don't recognize that person some days. But it's the process we've engaged in. Each and every one of us, or you're sitting here, and you've been sitting here more than once, you're engaged in this process. You have committed yourself to being transformed, no matter what it takes. And it's going to take everything that you think it will. In my first series of, I wrote a series of coursework for this course of study. And in the second or third workbook, I wrote, the cost of the life you want is the life you have. For your dream to be true, the things you've been holding on to from your whole experience that have defined who you're being and all of that will have to go. And they will, one at a time, 3 at a time, 6 at a time, some days all of them all at once. And of course, you're going to land on someplace short of where you were headed. Remember that last slide. You know, you get it. I'm on it. My mind takes me over here. Oh, I'm on it. And my mind takes me over here. Every day, your mind is going to throw something at you that's going to ask you to, it's going to lead you astray. You're going to go off your course. But every day, you have the possibility to stop. Look, listen to your inner self and reorient. Choose that choice. Choose that place you want to go. Choose that being you want to be. See, the power of spiritual mind treatment is that it is a structured way to have you do that every day. Take that moment out of time and just reorient yourself. I am not this set of circumstances. I am not my parents and the world that have brought me into. That's not who I am. What I am is this divine spark of possibility becoming. And I have given it a direction and a thing to move towards, and I allow myself to be moved along that journey. Final slide. I love this slide because it really gets to the point. It seems like life is trying to eat you up sometimes. And it feels like you're just getting ready to go down its gullet. But don't give up. Never give up. Even when it looks like all is lost. Never give up. I've read this in a book somewhere, and I guess it must be true. I read it in a book, right? Today is the first day of the rest of your life. It can be a continuing saga, or it can be a new beginning. Let go of those people that you still hold in some kind of distance for some reason or another. I keep thinking I got my glasses on and this is the rim. Keep pushing it. Let go of those hurts and angers. You can really hold a grudge against a person your whole life and their whole life, and they won't know it. And it won't affect them one bit. But it will use up energy that belongs to you. It will use up life that belongs to you. For while you've invested it in that, it bears no interest and brings no return. It takes and never gives. But it doesn't affect the person you're angry with. It doesn't affect the person who hurts you. It doesn't affect the person that you think is so evil that they should die. doesn't affect them at all. It affects you. It affects me. See, I still have some folks like that. Not as many as I used to. I'm not perfect. I still have a couple of people I think, boy, you're so dastardly. You should just die. It's just, I don't want to have you in my life. Well, they're not in my life, really, except in the compartment where I hold on to that energy that I've focused around them. That's the only place they're in my life. And they won't leave until I let it go. So let it go. They are not in charge of your life. They do not have to have anything to do with who you are. Today, this is the life you're living. Today, this is the person you're being. Is it the person whose dream, who could live in the dream you have? If not, let go of that too. I was an actor for many years. Norma says I still am. But the thing I found about when I was acting was that we're all playing roles. Every role we play is just a role. You're being right now, that's just a role. You made it up. You wrote the dialogue. And you can pick up another role like that, write new dialogue like that, and start a new life like that. It happens now. Dr. Tom used to say in his service, I love you and I accept your love, and I want to let you know I love you and I accept your love. Namaste.